In this day and age, what, you might ask, is the point of aftermarket tuning? After all, performance cars have got faster, more flexible and way more capable than they ever were before, straight out of the box. Why would you spend thousands of pounds for the bragging right of just a few more horsepower? Well, we've come down to BBR GTI to drive their latest MX-5 conversion to perhaps find out why you might want to spend some money on making your MX-5 go faster. The story starts with this little box of tricks here. For £495 plus VAT, this Star Chip upgrade will take your 1.5 MX-5 from 131 horsepower stock to 158 horsepower. That is pretty much the same as the 160 horsepower you start with in a stock 2 litre. Put this box on a 2 litre and you're getting closer to 180 horsepower. Pretty impressive gains for not much money. Now, the car you see behind me is a little bit more involved and rather more expensive. To get an MX-5 like this, you need to spend more like 8 grand. That is quite a big step up. Can it possibly be justified? So the question is there enough extra ability in this BBR MX-5 to justify investing that kind of money in a car like this? Well, this will probably give you an idea. Yes, I would say that's a pretty promising start, but then that's a loud exhaust. A loud exhaust doesn't cost 8 grand. Anybody can put a loud exhaust on a car. So let's have a look at what's actually gone into this Super 200 package, which on its own costs about £2,700 plus VAT fitted. It's a good old-fashioned tuning package really. It improves the breathing of the engine. So you've got an improved intake system. You have got hot cams, which is a very traditional way of getting more power out of a car. You've got the Star Chip remap, which of course chucks in extra fuel to go with that extra air, and we've got a very nice fancy manifold that does away with the quite restrictive catalytic converter that Mazda has to put into the standard one to get through emissions regs to help with the breathing on the exhaust side. Additional to that, this car has got quite a few extras as well. So that exhaust I mentioned, and you can probably hear, and it's putting a massive grin on my face, that's about another grand and adds a centre section and a back box to the existing system, and that gives you about another 14 horsepower. So all told, that adds up to your 200 horsepower. Now, it would be a lot easier and you get a lot more power if you just added a turbo kit. That would be, in tuning terms, the easy win. And BBR is actually developing a turbo kit for this Mark IV MX-5 that will be on the market quite soon, and will get you a lot more power than that. But to be honest, for MX-5s, I think a naturally aspirated tuning, although it doesn't deliver the massive numbers, is more in keeping with the character of the car, and you know, each to their own. Some people might want the kind of whoosh bang you get with a turbo conversion. Personally, I would be very happy with a naturally aspirated kit. The standard MX-5 out of the box, the handling as is does have some room for improvement. The standard sport setup of the Bilstein dampers has a slightly tiptoes feeling really. I've never quite liked that car. It's okay, but I think there's always been room for improvement. BBR on this car has added its Coney damper and custom spring set, Abarth anti-roll bars. It's got those lovely OZ wheels, some Wildwood 4-pot brakes, which apparently save 2 kilos in unsprung weight. So what else might you get for the money that you put into souping up an MX-5 into BBR's Super 200 configuration? Well, 30 grand would get you a basic 1.8 TSI Audi TT Roadster with front wheel drive. Don't think we need to go on much more about that, do we? You could maybe get into a super basic Mercedes SLC, as the SLK is now known, maybe a absolute bare bones spec BMW Z4, but I don't think any of them really have the kind of character this car offers. The most obvious rival for 30 grand would have to be the Abarth version of the Fiat 124, which is of course based on the same platform as the Mazda, has a lot of common bits. It's got a 1.4 turbo engine, so a slightly different character. For the starting price of 30 grand, it's only got 170 horsepower as well. It's got limited slip diff, stiff suspension, all that kind of stuff as well. I haven't actually driven that car yet, to be fair, before I get too far down that road, but I don't think the turbocharged engine is going to have the power delivery to match this super crisp, naturally aspirated twin cam 4. So at 30 grand, this MX-5 does start to make some kind of sense, which is a classic example of man maths speaking, but I think that's really the question you've got to ask yourself. Does the MX-5 cut it at this price point? Well, it is not a sports car. It's probably not going to answer any of those criticisms that people who don't like MX-5s will have about it. But Fiat obviously thinks there's a 30 grand car in this package. Arguably, I think the naturally aspirated character, the high revving nature of this Mazda engine was already great, but with these BBR modifications it just unleashes a whole load more character. And all the things we like about the MX-5 have just basically been amplified, including the noise. Did I mention the noise? I think I did mention the noise. So yes, it is basically just all the great things about an MX-5, but more so. Put me in a standard MX-5, I'll be a really, really happy man. Put me in this MX-5, and I will be a considerably happier man still. Does that make it a worthwhile return on the investment of about 8 grand? Yes, I think it probably does. Yes, there is relevance to aftermarket tuning in this day and age. Yes, cars can get better, and yes, you can have more bang for your buck.